Next speaker, Eleni Michalopoulou. Eleni is a member of the World Economic Forum's Global Future Council on Clean Air. She is a co-author in the IPCC's 2019 refinement to the 2016 IPCC guidelines for national greenhouse gas inventories. Eleni, a very warm welcome to you. The floor is yours.
Hi, thank you very much. I'm going to try and share my screen, but if that doesn't work, that is absolutely fine. Hopefully you can start to see the slides now. Is this okay? Because I can't see the chat at the moment. Okay, I'm just going to assume that it's okay, and I'm going to start.
It's okay.
Oh, perfect. Thank you very much. Right. So today, what I wanted to talk about, it was difficult to decide because there are so many things, and we heard from the previous two speakers, the different approaches, the different things to consider. We heard in Al Gore's opening discussion about the solutions that we need to benefit the employees, to benefit the communities. And I think I will be approaching this discussion today from a slightly different angle. I will be talking about climate change, but also air pollution. And the reason why I will be doing that is because air pollution and climate change are very strongly linked. Major air pollutants have an impact on climate, and most of them share common sources with greenhouse gases, especially in relation to the combustion of fossil fuels. So you have climate change and air pollution really interacting with each other. Now, the reason why I think this slide is very important, and I will be talking I will be sharing more information while you're looking at this slide, is just this number, this over 1 million premature deaths avoided in 2050 if the Paris target is achieved from improved air quality. Now, please, remember this number, 1 million premature deaths avoided, while I share some more information with you. Now, there is a group of pollutants. They're called short-lived climate pollutants, and these include black carbon, ozone, methane, hydrofluorocarbons. I'm just not going to get into the chemistry of that because it's confusing and it's really unnecessary. But what it's very important to highlight is the fact that because we have this interaction, these linkages between climate change and air pollution, are we missing an opportunity here? Are we missing an opportunity, and are we not taking into consideration certain things? We opened this conference by saying we need to be considering systems holistically. We said we need to be considering sustainable development. So hopefully what I can share with you today is this is an example of how businesses are addressing this one I'm going to call it a face of climate change, because climate change and air pollution, sometimes we call them twin goals, sometimes we call them the same side, two sides of the same coin. Now, very recently, the World Health Organization, they revised their guidelines and they reduced the acceptable limits for some air pollutants. And I'm pretty sure you've heard about the number, the 7 million premature deaths each year that are attributed to air pollution. So again, please remember, please keep in your mind, climate change, air pollution, how they are inherently linked. Now, we know that businesses contribute to climate change by emitting greenhouse gases, but businesses also contribute to air pollution. And what is very interesting in this case, as I mentioned before, air pollutants tend to have the same sources as greenhouse gases. So it is roughly the same activities. It is approximately the same activities that are responsible for the emissions of greenhouse gases and are responsible for the emissions of air pollutants or short-lived climate pollutants. It's slightly different groups. We group them together in slightly different ways. What was very interesting in COP26 was that there was a flurry of discussions around greenhouse gas emission reductions, around net zero pathways, very important discussions, very important pledges. I think we saw the number of businesses that were pledging to either reduce greenhouse gas emissions or to develop net zero pathways. I think we saw something like 2,500 businesses just moving, that way, really embracing that as part of their strategies. But what is very interesting is that unlike those discussions around, net zero pathways, unlike those discussions about the reduction of greenhouse gases, we don't really have a clear plan. We don't really have a clear pathway that includes air pollution. It is extremely, extremely important to look at climate change and air pollution at the same time. It is extremely important to develop strategies, integrated strategies that include both of those challenges. And hopefully in the next couple of slides, I will also show you why. On a national level, the governments use the IPCC guidelines. These are a very specific set of guidelines in order for them to report air pollution emissions. For businesses, we have the greenhouse gas protocol that is used as a tool for them to report greenhouse gas emissions as well. So I just wanted to show you this matrix and then talk to you about something that I found extremely exciting. It is one of our most favorite projects at the moment. So just consider this matrix and just think that on the national level, we have the IPCC guidelines, which is what allows national governments to quantify greenhouse gas emissions. And we also have the IPCC guidelines that allows us to quantify air pollutant emissions. On the business level, we do have the greenhouse gas protocol for the greenhouse gas emissions. But what this was part of discussions, and I think it's also perhaps important to share the personal experiences of someone working on this. So these question marks that you see on that final square, it was the outcome of a discussion between the Climate and Clean Air Coalition, the Stockholm Environment Institute that I am partly representing here today, and the IKEA Foundation. And these discussions came around, so what would businesses use? What sort of guidance, what sort of framework would businesses use if they wanted to quantify air pollution? It was very important that moment of time when that question was asked, because the question was the result of discussion around climate change, but also how do you increase your ambition? What else can you do? What other aspects of climate change can you or should you be engaging with if you are wanting to deliver these holistic strategies, the integrated strategies? I believe it was the previous speaker, Kristen, who mentioned really thinking of this from a very different point of view. I think I can. Well, no, I will talk about this slide, but I don't want the presentation to become confusing. I'll stick with the word opportunity, and what I will focus using the word opportunity is not just the opportunities that have been presented for national governments to include air pollution in their national determined contributions or create inventories. There are some opportunities here that I would really like to highlight. So while we are planning our net zero strategies, while we are working on our net zero plans and policies and way forward, we need to be considering air pollution, because there are opportunities that have clear co-benefits. For example, replacing fossil fuel derived electricity with decarbonized electricity, which leads to substantial reduction in emissions of NOx, but also PM2.5 and ozone. There are opportunities that can be used to enhance net zero policies to benefit air quality. I won't go through all of the examples, but there are also net zero measures that may require mitigation in order to protect air quality. So I will just use the final minutes of this presentation to talk to you about something extremely exciting that happened in COP26. Now, a couple of years ago, the World Economic Forum put together a council, a new council, the Global Future Council on Clean Air. And the aim of that council is to really look into air pollution from the private sector, from different businesses. And as we were developing the agendas, we were looking into the different targets and goals of the Council, something that emerged at the same time as we were having the discussion with the Climate and Clean Air Coalition and IKEA was the need to have a set of businesses that would really be real pioneers and look into air pollution as throughout their value chain. So the project that we developed with the Climate and Clean Air Coalition and IKEA is a guide, is an air pollution emission inventory guide for businesses. So this is what will allow businesses to quantify air pollution and consider it as part of their agenda. This guide is using very similar principles, methodologies, and approaches that are used by greenhouse gas reporting guidelines. And the reason for that is because our goal was for this guide to become as easy as possible for companies to implement, to use, and to move forward with reporting their emissions. I was really hoping I could go through some more of the slides, but I would just like to finish on this slide. In COP26, the Alliance for Clean Air was announced, and this alliance is an alliance of 10 companies. You can see the names, real big companies, real pioneers in their sustainable development agendas, in their climate commitments, in their net zero commitments, most of them. And these companies have agreed to not only use the guide to quantify their emissions, but they will be considering air pollution as part of their larger portfolios and as part of their broader greenhouse gas reduction strategies and net zero strategies. And I will finish on that note, I think. Thank you very much.
And climate change, an important topic indeed.